is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for being here. Today we are doing my August wrap-up. August? Yeah, August. Okay, so it's a couple of days past when I would typically get my wrap-up done for a number of reasons. One of them being I wanted to finish up Crescent City so that way I could talk to you guys about it, because I thought for whatever reason that was the only one I was still in the middle of. Lo and behold, I was in the middle of something else. I didn't finish the something else being Amari and the Night Brothers. I just decided that I would finish that in September and save that as a September book. I did, however, add in the pages that I read of Amari into this month, so that is a factor. In August, I read 10 books, including Crescent City or House of Blood and Earth, or Earth and Blood, something like that. And then I read 36% of Amari and the Night Brothers. I also read across 6 different genres, 3,624 pages. 4 of these books were 2021 releases. 3 of them were physical, 7 of them were audiobooks. I gave 3 5 stars and 7 4 stars. 3 5 stars. I had a really good reading month. I'm sorry, I said 3 physical books. I meant 4 physical books and 6 audiobooks. So, as always, I feel like I'm reading just a bit more audiobooks than I am physical books, but that is just the nature of the game, I guess. Anyway, let's get started. As always, we are going to go through the books in the order of which I finished them, because that's how I have my stack ordered, and let's just get started. The first book that I read is Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This is a horror novel. It's very much, I would say, okay. It is a little bit slow, but it's horrific. And it's like from the very beginning, even from the plot summary, you know that something isn't right. That Maddie can't remember a time before she and William lived alone on the mountain together. So that already up there sounds weird. As you read it, it starts to seem like they are like from an old time, but you realize that the rest of the world isn't. It is literally horrific. And it's interesting because if it were told from one other perspective, or even if it was told from a different group's perspective, it would be a slasher movie. But it's not, and it's a horror book. It's so good. Man, this was crazy good. Obviously, this was a 5-star read for me. Christina Henry is an author that I have read from before. Previously, I have read her retellings. Where are they in here? I've read Alice and Lost Boy from her. I loved both of those books. They are dark retellings of Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan. So I was really excited to see that she was coming out with this book. I wanted to see what she could do with her own characters and storyline. And man, oh man, did she deliver. This was crazy good. This was scary, horrifying. It was... And it was so... I mean, I don't even... Oh, man. The emotions, man. The emotions. And it's not like it's not a mystery. Once you start reading about Maddie and William's relationship, you very quickly pick up what has happened, and you understand much quicker than Maddie does what is happening around her. And I think that what makes it horrifying is that Maddie doesn't realize how much danger she's in, and then there are other characters that get involved, and it is very scary. And I think that Christina Henry did this very correct, because I've seen like slasher books and I've seen them fail, and I think that if you wanted to deliver a storyline like that it should be told this way, to where it's more horrific instead of like slasher. Because I'm not sure how well a slasher book would be well received ever, as opposed to a slasher movie. This put me in a reading slump. It was so good. Mainly because like it ends like all scary movies do, where like the heroes barely make it out with their lives, and it's like, how is that the happy ending that will propel me into reading the next book? You know, like These people barely survived. This is horrible. I mean, it was so good, but it was horrible. Man, so glad I read this book. After that, I found myself reading a series of audiobooks, YA romances, mainly because I didn't know how to recover from that. So first we read The Falling in Love Montage by Sierra Smith. I give this a 4-star. This is like a contemporary romance. There is no happily ever after. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but like, cause the whole, okay. I don't understand, because there was another book that I read whose name escapes me. Maybe Editing McKinsey will let you guys know what it is. The books are called something to do with love, and they end up being more of a contemporary because in the book, it's not a happily ever after. And Romancelandia has told me very specifically that if it's not a happily ever after, it's not really a romance, it's more of whatever else, and then there's a romantic element. And so, like, clarify for me in the comments, what do you guys think? Because this didn't really have a happily ever after. They don't end up together, and like, it was just for this to be the very next one that I read after Near the Bone, it didn't exactly save me from my reading slump, but it was still very good. We have our main character whose mom has dementia, and she's afraid that she is also going to have dementia, and therefore, like, is preventing herself from living her life and loving. And then there's the main character who doesn't really get a perspective, and like, she has just enough development to not be like manic pixie dream girl, but it's still so sad. Like, how sweet their relationship was, and how like it was really all about the love interest teaching our main character that like love is important to just have those moments, because you do want to, basically you want to weigh the scale in your favor and have more good moments than bad moments. And it was nice and it was sweet, and I just really, what keeps it from being a 5-star is the lack of development on the love interest in part, and then also like, I was just heartbroken. They just split up. That was it. It's not like there was a third act breakup and they got back together. No, it was like, that was it. I need like an epilogue of them 10 years later meeting back up again. But you can't deny me that epilogue. Next, I read You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I also gave this a 4-star. This is definitely more of a contemporary with romantic elements. I really thought this was a unique kind of story. It had really great friend dynamics, and I'm a sucker for those friend dynamics, especially when they're really good, really interesting, and just so sweet, and people like care for each other just genuinely for the person. And I feel like that's something that, I don't know if it was my generation or where I grew up, but it was totally like shamed upon to have platonic relationships like that. And like now the new generations just have, and it's great, and I love it, and I love reading about it, and it's just so cute, so sweet. I do enjoy it. So we have Liz, who is the main character, who is running for prom queen. Homecoming queen? Anyway, she's trying to win a scholarship because she gets accepted to a college, but she doesn't get their scholarship. So she's trying to win money from being homecoming queen and to go to this college. And it's a female-female romance. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. Anyway, what I think was really unique about this storyline was the platonic friend love that was happening, and the sibling love, and just all of these relationships and all of these different kind of loves that go into making a person a complete person, and just feeling like they could take on the world. It's so cute, so I love it. So good. Next, I read The Henna Wars by Adiba Jagadar. I gave this one a 4 stars. I loved this one. Oh goodness, this one was so cute. So I am truly loving and enjoying these stories where the main character, or not even the love interest, I like when the main character is not always like the best person. Like, they make mistakes because they're kids or because of their situation, because they're human. And it's, oh man, I feel like this was a very good one to show how people can make mistakes and grow together and stand up for one another and teach each other and just be there and be a support system for one another. I really enjoyed this one. So it follows Flavia and Nishad, and they are doing this project where they have to pretend they're a business basically and try to raise money. And Nishad has this great idea that she is going to do henna because that is, you know, part of her culture, part of Bengali culture. And then Flavia, who is married into a Bengali family, is also deciding to do henna, even though that is not her exact culture anyway. So they kind of, that's where like the henna war aspect kind of comes in. They have competing henna businesses, and it's a lot about cultural appropriation and where the line is and standing up for yourself in a racial environment basically, and against racist people, and making sure that there is a space for you and people like you. Really cute, really enjoyed it. I love Adiba Jagadar's stories. I love all girl aspect, and I've been listening to them on audiobooks, so they all have like a little bit of an Irish accent, and I'm just, oh, it's so cute and I love it. And then I read a nonfiction this month because I realized I don't know how many months have gone by without me reading a nonfiction. So I picked one up. I picked up The Body Is Not an Apology, The Power of Radical Self-Love by Sonia Renee Taylor. This one was really, really good and powerful. And honestly, I just keep thinking about it, and it had such an impact on me. And just about being allowed to take up space and be there in the body that I have and not have to feel like I have to make excuses for the body that I have. And I just, man, oh man, I can't recommend it enough. I think everyone should read it. I think you're missing out if you're not reading it, no matter where you are in your self-love journey. I feel like you're missing out if you're not reading it. Very good. Then I read Tokyo Ghoul Volume 1. I read this for a video where I read this and then I watched I think the first 2 episodes and basically compare, contrast what happened in the manga versus the anime. This was really fun for me to do, and I think it's something I'm going to do more on my channel. Honestly, it's so interesting, and especially when the manga adds more to the TV show, and each, you know, they add just a little bit more, and so you get like a really great full picture if you have both. I really enjoy that. So Tokyo Ghoul follows Ken Kaneki, who is raised in Tokyo, Japan, and it is like an alternate universe Tokyo where they're ghouls. They're called ghouls, and they eat human flesh. And they have this weird thing going on with their eye, and basically in this first volume, through weird means, Ken, who is human, gets turned into a ghoul, and that's in like the first episode, and yeah, and you're just following him live this horrible, horrific life. And I previously watched the anime, and so now I'm going back and reading the manga, and I'm really, really enjoying that. Next, I read Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is the 3rd book from her that I have read. I was really excited when I picked it up because it came out in paperback, and so it matches my other paperbacks. And as you can tell, the other 2 are on my favorites shelf because I love them so much. And honestly, Mexican Gothic is going to join them up there on the favorites shelf. It was so good. It was horrific. It was everything. This was a 5-star book, you guys. Okay, I think y'all are freaking out just a little bit about mushrooms. Just a little bit. I mean, everyone gets freaked out about their own stuff, but When BookTube literally exploded with their hatred of mushrooms after Mexican Gothic, I was like, wow, okay, something truly horrific must have happened. Honestly, I didn't see anything more horrific than, like, mushrooms are a gross thing anyway. And, like, they did what they do. Mushrooms did what they do. So we follow Noemi, who goes to the countryside to go and find her cousin, who has recently married into a family, and sends a very weird, distressing letter. And so Noemi goes to basically investigate and figure out what's going on. And the family is horribly racist. They're a white family, and Noemi and her cousin are Mexican. So they're horribly racist to Noemi. They're unkind and unfriendly, and all the while Noemi is trying to navigate them, trying to talk to her cousin, because they have her secluded away, and also trying to figure out what's going on. And wow, okay, this is horrific. This book really is the Gothic horror vibe, okay? It's like this house is creepy, and like, talk about a location that is like personified. Like, this had the Shining vibes of, I no longer wanted to be in this house. I didn't want to be in this house. It was horrible. It was creepy. Noemi is having visions. Like, it was very stressful for me. I couldn't read this at night. And it took me so long to read this book because I really only have time to read at night because of my job. But I couldn't read it at night. I had to find time somewhere else in the day to read this. It was horrifying. A lot of horrifying stuff here, you guys. After my truly horrifying experience, I was picked up Crescent City, but in between me trying to finish Crescent City, I read a few more audiobooks. I read Love and Other Natural Disasters by Misa Sigera. This I gave a 4-star. This book was so freaking great. I love main characters, like, I want to say quirky, but honestly that's not it. It's like anxiety-riddled human beings who like don't know how to interact. Like, I love books like that. I read so many fantasy novels about main characters, heroines who are like boss ass, and it's like great, and I want that. But I also need like contemporaries that have characters that like I can relate to. Our main character, what's her name? Nozomi? Nozomi is so freaking awkward, and I love her to pieces. She makes so many mistakes. She's a teenage girl, and like, it's so great. It's so great. This is like fake dating to the max, but also this is the first fake dating that I've read where the two people who are fake dating don't end up together. It is so dramatic. It is like, it's as dramatic as I Think I Love You by Ariane de Sombre, and I think like it's when you when you include so many characters, but you also make room and space for them to be full-fledged characters and have emotions and take up space and be flawed, you get this really like just uber dramatic plot line. It's so good. Oh my gosh, I loved it. So Nozomi is fake dating Willow because Willow's ex Arden is dating Della, and Willow wants to make Arden jealous. So Nozomi agrees to fake date Willow in the hopes that Willow will fall in love with Nozomi and out of love with Arden. This is like, this reminds me of like She's the Man level of like complicated, trying to like convince you of the storyline. And even that was pulling on a Shakespeare play. So I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was so fun and funny. Nozomi, super flawed. All of these characters flawed. All of them interesting and really good. Highly recommend. Oh my gosh. Then I finally got my audiobook. Gosh, what is it called? My hold came in for my audiobook for May the Best Man Win by Z.R. Eller. I gave this a 4-star. This was so good. This was so, oh my god, it was so good and so cute and so sweet. And you know what? I feel like while this book is not like, and no book ever has to teach people about their group. You know, like, just because this book has a trans character in it doesn't mean that it has to teach people about trans people. However, it does help me empathize and feel for and understand a little bit more the trans experience, even though that's not my experience. It helps understand. And I feel like this book was so sweet. We have our main character Jeremy, and the love interest Lucas. So Jeremy, before his transition, was dating Lucas, and then Jeremy broke up with Lucas, had their transition, and then Jeremy now as a boy is running for Homecoming King, and Lucas is also running for Homecoming King, and it's about like their second chance romance. And it's so beautiful because truly it's about how love extends further beyond what your physical body looks like and more into the person of who they are, and how Lucas consistently was talking about how it's always been Jeremy, even when it wasn't technically. And it was just such a sweet storyline. There was a like weird kind of dramatic plot line where Jeremy and his best friend Noemi had like a falling out, and Noemi tries to get back at Jeremy in like this weird way where it's like, okay, it feels like you're just the enemy now and no longer like a friend. Like you were just waiting to be not friendly. And I think that was like my own issue. But it was everything else, all the other storylines, a lot about bullying, a lot about standing up for yourself and for your space, and not making apologies for taking up space. And I love that a lot of the YAs that I'm reading lately are all about standing up for your space, taking up space, and just flaunting it and being happy to be alive and be who you are. It's refreshing. All right, and finally, I finished this beast, this 800-page freaking novel. I read House of Earth and Blood. It is Earth and Blood. House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. And, okay, I'm not going to make any excuses and say, like, Sarah J. Maas is... She has a few writing issues. She, like, the first 3 or 4 chapters of this book are all complex sentences, which makes 0 sense at all. Even when you're writing essays, you're supposed to include simple sentences so that way your reader doesn't get bored or stops paying attention. And then she plot dumped for like 50 to 100 pages, and like all of it was important, you guys. Like, I'm telling you now, if you haven't read Crescent City and you're about to go in and you're the type of person who wants to know everything, maybe take notes. Like, everything is important, everything comes back. It's she is not the best at delivering information in a way that you will remember. It's not the best. I will say that after like chapter 6 or 7, the complex sentence consistency drops off, but then you get like incomplete sentences. Like, they're just fractured. They're not complete. They're whole. I get confused a lot of the time on what she's trying to say, and it's like, I would get it if it was a translated piece, but it's not. And I feel like it just has, like, writing issues. And, like, a lot of that. A lot of writing issues. However, really good. I loved the characters. I thought they were really good, really sweet. I really enjoyed how Bryce... So, I haven't read Throne of Glass. I'm going to be reading that with my coworker this month in September. But I feel like Bryce is like a new kind of main character. It's not one that I've read before, like the party girl who's supposed to be taken seriously, who is the badass, who is the main character who's gonna solve the mystery at the end. I feel like there weren't excuses made for Bryce's party girlness or Danica's party girlness. I really enjoyed them just being who they are, because you know what? 23-year-olds are allowed to be that way, especially when they're perceived to be immortal. So I really enjoyed the world that was created. I really thought at first that I wasn't going to enjoy this world because there was so much of everything, like fairies and angels and demons and mermaids and werewolves and shifters of all different kinds of animals. I really thought I was not going to enjoy it. But the way that it's pulled off is so, like, it's so awesome. Like, it reminds me of the boiling pot of America when everyone started coming over, right? So like, it feels like, you know how we talk about fantasy and we talk about everyone basically going back to the Middle Ages where everyone's using swords and everything else, unless it's like a more of a steampunk-esque kind of vibe. Well, this felt very much like we took all of the fantasy and we just pushed everything forward like 2,000 years and let's see what happens. And it was believable and cool and real and awesome, like, so fantastical. That was interesting. I thought the mystery aspect it was fine. It wasn't one of those where you could solve on your own and then like see if you were right, unless you could just take a really good guess. I think it's much more like a lot of information was kept from you on purpose. There was a lot of things like I can see where like why we would continue on, because a lot of plot points weren't finished up, but it also feels like the plot that happened in here was wrapped up. I did feel like the ending of this book, of book 1, felt like the ending of ACOTAR book 1, where like our main character is like fighting to the death and we have this group of people who's watching her fight to the death and like watch her barely escape death. And then at the very, very end, it felt very Twilight New Moon, where the Voltaria like, we give you our blessing on your relationship. But yeah, I still really enjoyed it. So let me get everyone together, we'll say goodbye. The only reason I really didn't read Amaria and the Night Brothers was no reason at all. I was trying to read Crescent City. My coworker started to get ahead of me, and then I would be behind so much, and then I got ahead, and then she would be behind, but I needed to finish. It was a lot. So we're definitely picking up Amaria and the Night Brothers in September. I'm actually going to pick it up right after I finish filming all of my videos today. So worry not, this is coming. But for now, we'll say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!